Alright, so welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. In the last lesson, we went and did all of our connections for our front pedals here. So now we're ready to basically continue where we left off and start making the connections here for our back pedals. We're going to use basically the same concept that we've done here for our front pedals, and we're just going to sort of mirror that over, so to speak, for our back pedals. And we're basically just going to try to keep the same general layout and the same general structure for our back. So let's go ahead and do that here. First thing that we want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and basically take all of these control curves, or the secondary control curves, and I just want to go ahead and hide them. So we'll just go ahead and select all three of those groups, just hit 0 in the visibility tab to go ahead and turn those off. We'll also go ahead and turn off the front pedals. Okay, we'll go ahead and select this first main curve here. Just go ahead and duplicate this over. Okay, and I will also want to go ahead and change the color here of these, but we're not going to do this right away. We're going to do this here in a minute. Let's just go ahead and rename this as the CCBK for back pedals tips. Okay, and we go ahead and move that outliner real quick. Go ahead and hit Control D, duplicate that. We can go ahead and just move these over. For the most part, we're going to actually go ahead and use 3 curves here, so we can just duplicate that again if we want and just scale it down. But for the most part, that's going to be our general structure here. So also want to go ahead and turn off these front 3 main controllers. Okay, so that's going to be the main global, the mid global, and the base global. So we'll just go ahead and turn the visibility off on those as well. Okay, just show our joints again, and you can see where our joint structure is pretty much the same. It's just we have a different amount of pedals here. Okay, so all we need to go ahead and do here is just come into our animation tab, select our spline IK handle again, go ahead and start drawing those out. Just hit G to repeat that command, and we'll go ahead and draw out the rest of these real quick. And we're basically doing it from the second joint again in that joint chain. We're not going to do it on the base joint because we are basically just going to parent that to what is going to be our facial rig whenever we go ahead and bring that in here. So let's just go ahead and draw these IK handles out here. Let's go ahead and do the last one here. Okay, let's go ahead and hide our polygons. We'll go ahead and select our IK handles here, and we will see if we can select them all real quick here. Go ahead and add those to that IK handle hide layer. Okay, we'll go ahead and turn off our joints so that we can see our curves. So that's what we'll have now. And we need to go ahead and create our cluster controls for this. So we'll just go ahead and hit F4 on our keyboard. Come up here to Edit Curve, Selection Cluster Curve. Okay, select it, hit G. Select it, hit G. Select it, hit G. And just go around and select all of these. Okay. And there are our cluster handles for our back pedals. And now we need to go ahead and make our control curve that we're going to be basically using to manipulate these. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and open my rig controllers real quick. And for this one, I sort of want the back to be a little bit different in terms of the actual control curve that we're going to be using here. So let's just go ahead and use our circle locator. Just taking a look at our outliner, you can see that this comes in with no group. So we'll just go ahead and rename that real quick as our CC back pedal 1. Okay, so now we just need to come in here and basically place all these correctly, and we'll just try and set these up in a way that we want here. So we'll just go ahead and select one there, go ahead and put one on that CC. Okay, go ahead and put one at that cluster curve. And the same process here, we'll just select all three of them. Center the pivot. Hit Control G to group them. Center the pivot on that. Hit Insert to get to our pivot tool. Okay, we'll go ahead and snap the pivot to the center. Use our rotate tool, and we're just going to hit Control D, and we're going to go ahead and duplicate these around again. Okay, and this will just take you a little bit of time to go ahead and place these all where you want them. Let's just try to line them up properly here. And just have to continually hit Control D to go around here. Just hit Control D, rotate, try to place them properly or where I would want them here. Okay, go ahead and do that last one there. Okay, so now we have all those CC curves created here. Let's just go ahead and select the entire portion of those, and I just did that in the outliner there. So we'll go ahead and turn our polygons back on here real quick, and I just want to go ahead and line these up real quick. Probably a little bit more there. Okay, that's fine. So we'll just go ahead and center the pivot there. Okay, and now I just need to go ahead and select these and unparent those from the group. So we'll just do that in the side view here. So we'll just try and select all those and nothing else here. So we don't want to select those main curves. So we'll just go ahead with all those selected, hit Shift P to make sure that they're now out of the groups, as you can see here. So we'll go ahead and delete those groups and just make sure that we go ahead and select all of these. Okay, freeze the transformations and center the pivots here. And I'm doing that all in one, and I'll show you what our script editor looks like here for the code. And it's just these three lines of code: the center of the pivot, delete history, and freeze transformations. Okay, so now that we have those all basically cleaned up, we're ready to go ahead and make our connections here. So I'm just going to go and select our curves real quick, which are spline IK curves that it creates whenever we create that IK handle. And I just want to go ahead and add that to our spline IK curve layer. Okay, so now we're pretty much clean there and ready to go ahead and add the connections. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the top here. We'll just select one, go into our animation menu, set constraint parent, and we're just going to go ahead and repeat our parent constraints here all the way through. So we just need to select our cluster curve, select our cluster, and hit G to parent constraint that. And this just takes a little bit of time in terms of the actual selection, so I'm not going to basically rush through it here. I'm just going to go ahead and take my time just to make sure that I select all of these properly. The method here really isn't, you don't have to really follow a specific convention from top to bottom or from bottom to top, or do the middle, top, and bottom. You can add those constraints basically any way that you want, just as long as you get the constraints for the CCs to the cluster, you're fine. So I just need to make sure that I select all these. Okay. And just need to do a couple more here. And you'll also notice that very similar to the front, we didn't make any cluster curves for the base of those petal clusters, and that's really what I'm trying to focus on there, because we're just going to basically be parenting that to the face so that it'll stay whenever we complete our rig here. So just continually select these and try and get the last ones here. Okay. And just have to do a few more. So I'm just trying to go ahead and select all those and make sure that they now are pretty much parent constraint for the rest of them. So let's go ahead and turn that pedal back on. We just need to go ahead and turn our geometry on here and make sure that these are all working properly, and they seem to be. So we can just basically select those in the outliner here and go ahead and move them, and they all look like they're moving fine and correctly. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead here and use the same process. We just need to go ahead and select the entire outer portion of these. Okay, go ahead and hit Control G. Go ahead and group those, center the pivot and freeze the transformations there, and we'll call this the CC back pedals tip. Okay, so now they're all pretty much in their own group. We need to go ahead and select these mid controls. Go ahead and hit Control G, group those, center the pivot and freeze the transformations on those. CC mid back. Okay, oh, let's go ahead and actually add pedal there. And let's go ahead and select these base ones. Go ahead and group those, center the pivot and freeze the transformation there, just using the same naming convention as CC back base pedal. Okay, so now we have those three groups in the scene. Okay, let's go ahead and take our clusters that we went and created here. We're going to go ahead and select all of them, hit Control G, freeze the transformations and center the pivots on those, and you'll see where they all still work properly. Okay, we'll go ahead and rename that as our cluster back pedals, or pedal. Okay, go ahead and select all the IK handles, which are for our back here. Okay, go ahead and group those. Go ahead, IK handles back pedals, and you can always freeze the transformations and center the pivots on that group. You can't do them independently, but you can do it on the group. Okay, and we just need to basically organize our outliner here real quick. So we'll take these groups that we basically turned off, go ahead and turn those all back on. Okay, go ahead and take the cluster IK handles for the back and put that on the IK handle layer. Take the cluster back, go ahead and add that to the cluster main layer. Okay, so now we can go ahead here and take the three curves that we originally created. Just go ahead and move these over. I'm just going to go ahead and do this in the front view just to make sure that everything's going to line up properly here. Okay, just making sure that these are all going to be basically right in the middle of those circle locators. I just need to go ahead and scale this one down here, scale that middle one down. The top one I think there is fine, so we'll just go ahead and select all three of these again, which are 1, 2, and 3. I don't think I selected the right ones there. Yeah, I did. So let's just go ahead and freeze the transformations and center the pivots on those. Okay, so now we're ready to just use the same convention here for the back that we have in the front here. So we just need to go ahead and open our color controller. So let's go ahead and select these top ones. Go ahead and turn those yellow. Okay, select the mid ones, turn those blue. Select the innermost ones, and we're going to go ahead and turn those pink. Okay, so now our back convention is pretty much the same as our front convention there. Okay, so we can go ahead and close that. And I want to take my outliner here, and we're just going to go ahead and take these two groups, which are our cluster back pedal and the IK handles. I'm just going to go ahead and move these up here. Okay, go ahead and select these clusters, which I believe are going to be the stem clusters. So we'll just go ahead and select all of them. Go ahead and hit Control G to group them. Call this the clusters stem. Okay, go ahead and select these IK handles, which I believe are going to be the stems as well. So we just need to go ahead and turn those on. Go ahead and group those, and we will call these the IK handle stems. Okay, I'm trying to just give us at least a little bit more room there. Okay, so we just need to take this IK handle 5, and I believe this is the main stem, so we can go ahead and just basically put that into the IK handle stem group. Okay, go ahead and turn all those off. Go ahead and turn our clusters main off. So now they're all off. Let's go ahead and bring back our pedals front main, so you can see where we have all of those, as well as the stem controls. So let's go ahead and bring those back in and take a look at what we have so far here. So you can see right away where we have a lot of control already set up for our flower rig. And I think we just need to take a look at these ones. Okay, and they're all basically where I want them in the outliner. These curves are the, if I believe correct, are the spline IK handle curves. Let me go ahead and just turn on X-ray real quick just to make sure. Yep. And we can go ahead and group those if we want, and we can call these the cluster curves for the stems. Okay, so now everything is pretty much grouped here, and we've done pretty much the hard part of the actual rigging. I'm going to go ahead and call it an end for this lesson, but just to let you know, in the next lesson we're going to go ahead and come back, and we're actually going to be rigging our pot. So for the most part we've gotten all the hard stuff done and out of the way, which, you know, in the time consuming stuff, which is basically what I wanted to go ahead and do and get done first. And I'm only putting these curves in here right now, and you'll notice that I haven't made any connections between these larger curves and the what would be the secondary controls yet, because we're going to go ahead and do that whenever we start focusing on the actual secondary controlling of our rig. So come on back, and we will go ahead and start rigging our pot and continue working on our flower rig. So yeah, come on back.